What's going on, guys? Red Channels here. So some people are already declaring the failure of the amazing Make America Great Again revenge tour. And in this video, we will be responding to someone who is attempting to explain slash defend the Fell For It Again award meme, which is frequently used when people online express criticisms of the amazing Make America Great Again revenge tour. So let's dive right in.
The Fell For It Again award is a soy jack that will probably become an all-time classic in the coming years. So if I was you, I'd invest now. The premise of the soy jack is that the person you're referring to has fallen for obvious bait, or they've been fooled again. It actually originally started off as a Posted It Again award, which was a reply image used to mock a poster for posting a recycled meme or other types of coal. The Fell For It Again award, Soy Jack, was honestly pretty funny just by itself, but it rose to another level of popularity because of this one edit where someone stuck a MAGA hat on and quote tweeted a post talking about how a former George Soros money manager was hired by President Donald Trump, which flies in the face of all the swamp draining that they said they were going to be doing.
And of course, never mind all the swamp draining which has actually been done, which is like all those attempted government firings that those liberal activist judges have blocked. So, very one-sided. There's one guy who is a swamp creature who worked for George Soros who gets hired versus all these other people who they've tried to get rid of or have gotten rid of. Like, there's really a sort of distortion of perspective here. But the origins of this Fell For It Again award meme are apparently even dumber than I realized. One guy is the whole swamp. What is he going to do as Secretary of the Treasury that will help the swamp? Okay, he worked for Soros in the past. Seems like a bad idea. But is anything else happening on this front regarding the swamp? Nothing notable happening? No other major changes? Are we going to ignore the mass firings of government employees and USAID being exposed? Or how we uncovered all this money being funneled through all these sketchy NGOs? Or Trump's other cabinet picks who are decidedly not swamp creatures? With some of the points these people make who push this narrative, it's like, did you just start following politics during the Biden presidency? And another thing, too, people have forgotten how much of a struggle it was back in 2016. Paul Ryan deliberately didn't pass a single piece of legislation for all 4 years of the first Trump presidency because the Republican political class was largely aligned against Trump. There were all these extra people that we didn't know we would have to beat the neoconservatism out of. So the first time around, Trump faced obstructionism not only from Republicans in Congress, but also made the mistake of trusting a lot of Bush-style neoconservatives who it turns out would rather have worked with Democrats than other Republicans. This is why Trump was having to constantly fire people who weren't doing what he told them to do. People aren't appreciating how the U.S. underwent a huge political realignment. The idea of Liz Cheney campaigning for Kamala Harris was laughable back in 2016. There was immense social and political change that went on over the past 10 years.
Since that post, basically anytime something bad happens as a result of the Trump administration, then you'll get about 100 different posts with this reaction picture or a variation of it. Most of the times it'll be a coal post, but some of the variations are actually quite good. The first Fell For It Again award of this video will be going to me, unfortunately. I live in England and can't vote in American elections, but a part of me wanted Trump to win just because he said he was going to declassify the Epstein, 9/11 and JFK files, which obviously is very interesting. And on the FBI website, there are 10,000 pages of FBI investigation into the case, but basically all of it is redacted. So if all of that was to be released, that could cause a major shitstorm and would be very amusing to say the least, especially given who we already know is on the list. But instead of day one releasing the files and arresting the perpetrators, they did nothing.
Okay, first of all, he has released a lot of unredacted stuff regarding JFK. So that, at least, it didn't really answer the question of who killed JFK, but something was released. He did follow through on that. Secondly, even before he was elected, he's always been kind of non-committal about whether or not he was really serious about releasing files regarding Epstein. Initially, he seemed like he was going to do it. Then later, it seemed like he was backtracking. Like, it was never really a clear and unambiguous promise that it was something he was going to do. So if you voted for him and supported him for that reason alone, because you thought this was going to happen, I would say, yeah, that's kind of foolish. But again, it was never really that much of a promise to begin with. Not to mention, and this is going to be a running theme throughout this entire video, it hasn't even really been 3 full months since he was sworn in. He was sworn in on January 20th. It is now April 6th. Just because everything wasn't released literally the first day doesn't mean nothing will be. So, again, premature at best, kind of bad faith interpretation of his statements, in my opinion. And I'll be honest with you, I think there is a real chance that the Epstein files may not actually be released. I think that's plausible. It's reasonable to expect that they won't be. There's probably either someone in the administration, an important GOP donor, or strategic allies of the U.S., people in the intelligence community could be implicated. I'd say that's reasonable. But it seems like the process of actually releasing these documents is still in the works. It seems like they're still actively pushing for it. There may be certain elements within the government who actually have access to these documents which are resisting their release or trying to resist their release.
I do have to say, though, that I personally believe that if his name was Geoffrey Epstein, and it was in fact the leader of the CCP who was flown out to Epstein Island 36 times, and if instead Ghislaine Maxwell had ties to the Chinese triads, then it wouldn't have taken this long for the files to have been released. They would have been made publicly available as soon as they were published. But that's just my 2 cents about it, though. It seems pretty likely that they're not going to be releasing the Epstein files, which is pretty disappointing. But anyway, that being said, here is the Fell For It Again award for all the conspiracy theorists and myself. Another major Fell For It Again award has to be given to the immigration voters who voted for mass deportations. During President Trump's campaign, he repeatedly promised mass deportations. He said, and I quote, "the largest deportation operation in history," when he returns to office on the 20th of January.
Now, here's where I really have to raise an eyebrow at what the point of this meme even is. Like, I thought the whole conceit of it was that he wasn't serious about making good on any of these promises. So he was not serious about actually instituting mass deportations, when in fact, he has been. There have been tons of ICE raids. You see liberals posting all over online about how to avoid ICE and look at this resource if how to talk to your local ICE agent if they show up at your door in a specific way so you don't have to answer them. Like, this policy has been met with massive resistance from the governors of blue states, Democratic governors, and then also mayors of major blue cities. You see all these ICE raids going on. At the very least, from all of this, actual apprehensions at the border are down because now fewer people want to enter the U.S. because they know they might just get sent back. So, and I mean, there's also that app too the Biden administration had for like helping illegal immigrants navigate the US. So it's really entirely ridiculous to suggest that the Trump administration isn't sincerely attempting to carry out mass deportations. Like, this may not be as effective as we might like, but they're making an earnest effort, which is more than you can say if some neocon had become president, and definitely more than you can say if a Democrat had become president.
The next Fell For It Again award will be going to the voter base in general because we're going to be talking about scams which affect all of them. The first scam was the Trump coin scam, and I have to say it was weird seeing the President of America launching and rugging a shitcoin. But then for his wife to do the same, and then a slurry of other nameless grifters launching and rugging coins immediately after, it all seems a bit money hungry and tasteless in my opinion.
I don't know a single person who bought one of these things in real life.
But that isn't the only scam to be featured as part of this administration, though. Two prominent figures in the administration also both scammed the American people for quite a lot of money. Vivek Ramaswamy, as you might be aware, made his fortune repackaging a failed Alzheimer's drug. Axovant Sciences was wholly owned by Roivant Sciences, which was owned by Vivek.
Vivek is already out of the administration, and Vivek was out of the administration basically from like day one, well before the creation of this video that I'm responding to. So this is really a moot point.
The next group of people to receive their Fell For It Again award will be the immigration voters again. Yes, we're talking about H-1B visas. When people voted for mass deportations, a lot of them weren't expecting to get mass importations of primarily Indians.
Oh boy, have I been waiting for finally the right time to cover this issue. I should have done a video on this already since it was such a big controversy. Like, people were all of a sudden blackpilling and acting like the US was going to get infinite Indian immigration because of this whole H-1B controversy. Like, this is, oh man. First of all, the number of H-1B visas issued yearly is actually capped at 65,000. And this just means that 65,000 H-1B visas are issued to people with bachelor's degrees. I think there's a bit of wiggle room for an extra 20,000 for people with advanced degrees, but yearly it's really issued 65,000. This is regardless of who's president, and this number could only be changed by legislation passing Congress. Trump, during his first term, did limit the number of H-1B visas issued, but he was only able to do so because of emergency powers he had during the pandemic. So this 65,000 number is not changing. There is simply no mechanism for it to change. There would have to be legislation which passes the House and Senate. And furthermore, it's not even really clear that Elon wanted to increase this number at all, really. There's this whole controversy on Twitter. People were so angry about it. But the position that Elon was advocating for was eliminating country caps, not actually increasing the total number of H-1Bs issued. So people who are critical of Elon, and I do believe it was a little bit of a scummy move for him to try and do this, criticized him because he wanted to remove country caps. So there are caps in the H-1Bs that say, okay, only this many people from this particular country are allotted spots. What removing country caps would have done is made it so that all of them could have come from a specific country. Now, there's a decent chance that Elon was advocating this position to increase proportionally the number of low-skill tech workers from India that come here with H-1Bs. But the thing is, it's already very, 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 very proportionately Indian. Like, this really would have been kind of a lateral move. Like, maybe would have gotten a couple thousand more, but they were already pretty much going to Indians anyways. This wouldn't really mean a whole lot. So the idea that we are going from millions and millions of Central and South Americans illegally entering this country to millions of Indian immigrants legally entering this country through the H-1B program is ludicrous. It's not going to happen. This legislation would not pass the House and Senate. And nor does it even exist. This legislation is not real. Nobody's proposed it. Nobody's even said they want to propose it. Elon has not suggested, oh, hey, let's raise the number of H-1B visas issued from 65,000 to 3 million. He has not proposed that. See, the thing about Twitter is I do believe though it has freed up speech in a number of ways and has definitely expanded the Overton window rightward, it has turned other conversations into these very awful games of telephone where people are just responding to each other's responses. And granted, there were some people who were defending Elon, advocating for eliminating country caps in very stupid ways. There were people who were conflating H-1Bs with O-1Bs, which are like uh, visas issued for actually super skilled workers. H-1Bs, again, you just have to have a bachelor's degree, so it's not really that skilled. Um, Master's degree, excuse me. But while it's great that people are this concerned about preserving American jobs for Americans, this whole controversy is really a bit of a storm in a teacup. Like the absolute number of H-1Bs being issued yearly, no one has proposed to actually change it. And this part of the video is a long time coming. I actually promised one of my followers that I would address this issue like about a month ago at this point, I think. Sorry about that. I am lazy and scatterbrained. And I'm not putting anyone on blast, but Kayla, you will black pill over anything. I remember when they were first convicting Trump as guilty on all those felony charges, and Kayla was like, "Oh my God, it's never been more over than it is right now." So if I were to look up the definition of level headed in the dictionary, I would not expect to see a picture of Kayla there. So this is why you do not need to worry or black pill about Trump and immigration, because we're not going to get this massive deluge of Indians. It's just not going to happen. Really, show me the mechanism. Show me the desire, even. Elon certainly has not advocated for it, and we're only 3 months into this administration, which is why I've concluded that this whole fell for it again award is being passed around in leftist circles, but is also supposed to act as a demoralization tactic for people on the online right. I think that's what they're hoping in having that. This is the one thing they've been able to get go viral.
The next group of people to receive their Fell For It Again awards will be the anti-war voters. This one is particularly scary because it seems pretty likely that the Trump administration is gearing up for or preparing the general public for a war with Iran. My proof for this is, well, just take a look at some of the major hires that have been put in the administration and their position on the Middle East and US intervention. Here is Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, who said in a meeting with Israeli Defense Minister that Iran was the primary threat to the region and vowed to work closely with the US to prevent them from acquiring nuclear weapons.
The U.S. has consistently opposed Iran getting nuclear weapons since forever. So, what the defense secretary is saying here is not particularly alarming or novel at all. And this is what's even stupider about this whole fell for it again award meme. There weren't wars during the first Trump administration. Like, so not only has there not been a war declared yet, and again, it's premature to even assume there necessarily will be, but there wasn't one the first time. So this would be a fell for it the first time award. Would not be a fell for it again award. Because, again, there weren't new wars declared during Trump's first 4 years.
Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, who stated in an interview directly that war is absolutely necessary should the nuclear deal fall through. RFK Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services, actually is pretty consistently anti-war, which, to be fair to him, is good. But we have more to say about him later. Not to mention the countless other senators and congressmen who call for strikes against Iran preemptively.
Other Republican politicians, especially Republican politicians who aren't really necessarily associated with the Trump movement and were in politics long before Trump even ran for president the first time, other Republican politicians calling for war is not indicative of what Trump will or will not do. This guy's British, so I guess I can give him a pass, but only the US Congress actually has the power to declare war. I think they can even do this theoretically without the approval of the president, although that seems highly unlikely to me, but it's up to Congress.
The final Fell For It Again award has to be going to the Make America Healthy Again voters. Yes, this time it's about the Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr.
You mean someone who was only ever in the administration once? He wasn't part of Trump's administration back in 2016. I'm astounded by this. Am I missing something here? Am I missing something about the Fell For It Again award meme? That this doesn't make any sense at all?
I told you we'd be getting back to him. RFK Jr. has to be one of the most interesting people in the Trump administration. The story of him planting a dead bear in a Central Park bike lane so that it looked like it died because of a bike crash will never not be funny. RFK Jr. going into the position held a strict anti-vaccine position, claiming that it had serious risks for the development of autism in children. And going into the election, President Trump said he was considering banning vaccines.
Okay, first off, did RFK Jr. ever say he was against all vaccines, full stop? I'm not even sure he ever held that position in particular. I didn't follow him. And another thing too is, again, with this Fell For It Again award, he wasn't even part of the first administration. There's nothing about this that's fell for it again. We did not have some anti-vaxxer as health secretary back in 2016. But furthermore, RFK has never said, again, 100% of vaccines are bad. So this really isn't the gotcha that Stoic Stick is portraying it as. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope I satisfactorily addressed your concerns if you had any doubts in the revenge tour. I really feel like there's a lot of there wasn't a lot of substance to this guy's criticisms. They were very shallow, if not complete fabrications. This is how easily people are led around by the nose online these days. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, I would love to hear your comments in the comment section below. Leave a comment, whatever. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a like, leave a comment again, and share this video if you haven't. Sub to me on Patreon. Go down into the description section and sub to me on Patreon to monetarily support this channel. And Red Channels will catch you in the next one. Shout out to my 3 patrons, William, Tara, and General Jack Ripper. And of course, much love to Kayla for inspiring me to make this video. I think it's very relevant. I think it's a little niche. I think the MAGA movement is more powerful now than it ever has been. But as always, I love the dialogue with you, my loyal subscribers. Anyway, peace out.